Panthers Nation, what it is, what it could be, what up, though? It's Aaron Duncan here bringing you another Panthers video brought to you by Necessary Blunt Sports Talk. And the preseason is in the books, so we have to get ready for the final 53-man roster. So in this video today, I'm going to be giving you my final 53-man roster prediction. Yes, there's some tough calls that need to be made. Obviously, with the quarterback position being in flux, special teams injuries have popped up as well. There's a lot of different moving parts. So today I'm going to go by position and break down who I think is going to make a team, who I think is going to be on the practice squad as the Panthers narrow down to that 53-man roster. And we're starting right now. But like I said, my name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness. I do Panthers content pretty much every day of the week that ends in Y. So if you want to stay up to date to everything that's going on with the team, with film breakdowns, live streams, podcasts, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon. That bell icon is going to make sure you get notification. There's a lot of breaking news going to be coming up, especially with these cuts coming out. There could be some other people picked up on the waiver wire. So if you don't want to miss anything, you want to hear from me being on top of all this news, hit that subscribe button down below and the bell icon. And please, get a video thumbs up because it only takes about 2 seconds. 2 seconds, but it helps me out a lot in the algorithm with YouTube. Obviously, if you want to see more content, in-depth Panthers content and behind-the-scenes stuff as the season cranks up, subscribe to the Patreon to support the channel as well. Or if you don't want that long-term commitment, you got commitment issues, you can show a little appreciation down below, hitting the super thanks. Please. It's like a tip jar, I guess, for Panthers creators because I do this out of love of my heart, but any kind of love you show in return, I very much appreciate that. All right, but let's go ahead and get into it. I am an accountant. I have to admit it. I am an accountant by day. I don't do this full time. So, of course, when I made my final roster prediction, I put it in a spreadsheet. Let's go ahead and get to it. All right, party people, let's start up top where we know is pretty much easy. Obviously, quarterback, we're going to be keeping Baker Mayfield, and I expect P.J. Walker to still be on the roster. We know what happened with Matt Corral and Sam Darnold. I think both will be going on IR. Sam Darnold, high ankle sprain, at least 4 to 6 weeks. We'll play it by ear then as far as how many quarterbacks we capture after that. But obviously, we're going to go with 2 quarterbacks, and that injury, unfortunately, ends up being a blessing in disguise. It helps make decisions a little bit easier, and that's what probably kept P.J. Walker around nevertheless. But here we are. We have a guy that's number 2 quarterback that has experience, undefeated as a starter. It's not always pretty, but he's undefeated as a starter. So you have to feel a little bit better about having some experience behind Baker Mayfield. Running back, Christian McCaffrey, Dante Foreman, Chuba Hubbard. Going with 3 backs. Of course, Chuba struggled a little bit. I fully expect Dante Foreman to be RB2. We're not really talking about depth here, though, but I think they did enough. Obviously, these are guys they have some investment in. Christian McCaffrey will be around. Obviously, Lovett is there. You see him down there in the practice squad. We'll get to that. And Spencer Brown, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Wide receiver, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Shi Smith moved up to number 3 in my eyes. Terrace Marshall, Shard Higgins, and Andre Roberts. Now, this was tough for me because I had to let Brandon Zylstra go to the practice squad. Now, Brandon Zylstra, he's experienced. He's been around for a while, special teams player, but Andre Roberts is a return specialist. They're going to try to get him a little bit more involved in the receiving game, but I think that with things being tight on this roster, I decided that they should go with 10 offensive linemen versus an extra wide receiver. Now, we'll see what happens there because the practice squad is even crowded when it comes to wide receivers as well, but Andre Roberts makes things complicated. Now, if you wanted to get cute, you can let Roberts go, even though he's been all-pro 2 of the past 3 years, 3 times in his whole career. Shi Smith looked capable on punt return, of course. He did very, very effective. But in the kick return game, I don't think we have anybody that can kind of produce like Andre Roberts has in his career. I think Andre Roberts will be safe on the count that he didn't play any preseason games. Going to the tight end position, we got Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, Gio Ritchie, and Steven Sullivan. Now, this was a tough one for me because Gio Ritchie, he's a fullback converted from tight end. Obviously, he's taking some tight end reps because of the injuries to the tight end position this summer. But I don't think there's a lot of fullback formations that McAdoo is going to run. So being able to have Gio Ritchie as both tight end and fullback kind of saves a roster spot. This, to me, is going to bump Colin Thompson, a guy who had been a mainstay on this team the past few years. It's going to bump him off the roster and force him down either to the practice squad or just being cut in general. I think he could just be cut because we have got Steven Sullivan's really stepped up, the converted wide receiver. They like him a lot because of his athleticism. He had a catch and fumble in the first preseason game, but he had a pretty good corner route playing with the ones in Baker Mayfield. I think his skill set and size at 6'5", 240, 245 or whatever gives them a dimension that they don't have anywhere else on this team. So I think he's going to be around at that position. Now, offensive line, here we go. We got Taylor Moton, Austin Corbett, Bradley Bozeman, Brady Christensen, and Icky, the starters, of course. But I got coming off the bench, Pat Elflein, Michael Jordan, Cade Mays, Dennis Daly, and Cam Irving. Now, some of you may be saying, what the heck? We can't get rid of Cam Irving. He's a guy that can play pretty much all 5 positions. Not that great, however, but when you have that versatility and you have a guy with starting experience, not to mention you're paying him a decent salary, Cam Irving's going to be around, guys. It is what it is, man. Let's just get used to it. But obviously, I like Cade Mays being able to have the same type of versatility. I think I like him better inside at guard, but he's shown the capability in college, and he's got some experience at right tackle that he could play all up and down the offensive line. Dennis Daly, he's had starting experience as well, versatility there as well. Elfine can play center and guard. Michael Jordan can play both guards. We got some versatility, pretty decent. We can shuffle some things around, knock on wood if something bad happens, but that's the offensive line. Let's move on to the defense. Cornerback position. Dante Jackson, J.C. Horn, C.J. Henderson, Keith Taylor, and Tay Hayes. Yes, the pride of Appalachian State. I have Tay Hayes making the roster. He's made some plays, obviously, at the pick 6 in the second preseason game. Matt Rule bragged about how every day it seems like he makes another play. I got him taking the place of Stanley Thomas Oliver. Now, STO has been a gunner, but you can get those type of guys anywhere. Tay Hayes is a little bit small, so I don't know if he'll do that. But we have a lot more young players on this team that can run and go get it. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that. But I expect Tay Hayes to make the team. Like I said, him to be a special teams guy. But he's made enough plays. I think that he's made more plays than STO, especially in live action, but more so. I don't see every practice rep, of course, but you see it on tape. And you see what Matt Rule said. So I got Tay Hayes making it. Safety. I got Chin Woods, Burris, Sam Franklin, and Miles Hartsfield, who's the nickel / safety. Now, obviously, Kenny Robinson outside looking in. A lot of people thought he would be gone after the whole Patriots thing. That's not the case. Sean Chandler is practice squatter as well. So it's a little bit complicated, but obviously Xavier Woods coming in adds a little bit more stability there, and that bumps a guy like Burris to the background, and obviously a guy like Chandler and Kenny Robinson on the outside looking in. Linebacker, Shaq Thompson, Damian Wilson, Corey Littleton are your starters, but then backing up you got Frankie Louvu and Brandon Smith. Obviously, I think Louvu will be between edge and linebacker, so I don't mark him as a starter per se, but I think this is the 5 guys we're going to go with. Now, of course, we have Julian Stanford, Mobley, Graham Mobley also on the bench. I think they'll practice squad probably 2 out of those 3 guys at least. Definitely Stanford, in my opinion. Graham Mobley will be my other choice as well. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But defensive end, Brian Burns, Etor Gross-Matos, Marquise Haynes, Amari Barno, and Daryl Johnston. Yes, these are pretty much the guys I feel pretty good about this group going forward. Obviously, Austin Larkin's in there somewhere. He could probably go to practice squad as well, I expect. But I think this is pretty much clean-cut decision here on defensive end, keeping 5 DNs similar to last year. And D-tackle, I got Derek Brown, Matt Ioannidis, Bravion Roy, Davion Nixon, and Marquand McCall. This is a big shout because Phil Hoskins was on the team last year. He had some spurts out of Kentucky. He's second year. I got him on the practice squad. Marquand McCall has continued to make plays in the game consistently. Like consistently getting the push, consistently penetrating. He's gotten a sack in back-to-back games. This dude keeps showing up on tape and making splash plays in the game. He's huge at 380 pounds on the roster. He doesn't look that big in person, on tape. I'd probably give him about 340, 350. Nevertheless, this guy has been disruptive and a little bit more time in the system. He can make some plays, but I think he's made enough plays to make this team. So I got him on the team. And the last 3 men, obviously rounding out, Johnny Hecker, J.J. Jansen, and I put Zane Gonzalez in italicized because obviously he'll be out for a significant amount of time, but we're only going to keep one kicker anyway, so Zane may go on IR depending on how long he's out, but we'll have another kicker in place. The practice squad, I got STO, Kalon Barnes, who are at corner. Obviously, Barnes is the newest corner, so hopefully they'll be able to protect him and his speed, see what potential he may have down the line. At DB also, we got Kenny Robinson, Sean Chandler. Told you these guys, the safety room is just crowded. Now, Kenny Robinson is physical, good special teams player. He makes it feel you can hit pretty hard, but it's just crowded, man. It's crowded. But keeping going on the defense, you got Julian Stanford, Austin Larkin, Phil Hoskins. Like I told you about Hoskins, he's getting bumped down for McCall. Larkin getting bumped down. Now that Barno's there. Julian Stanford, Brandon Smith is making some room because he's going to play special teams a lot better. He's a lot faster. At worst, Brandon Smith is a dynamic special teams guy. But that was just my defensive wise. That was it. Deontay Brown, I got him sticking around one more year. We'll see if he can get his weight under control and see what happens going forward. I think they've been trying to plug and play him at different positions as well. I heard he was playing some center in practice at some point to try to find a spot on a team potentially for him. But I think he still needs to get that weight under control. But he could easily be cut. Our practice squad would just be trying to give a last-ditch effort, but he could easily be cut, in my opinion, and let walk. And then they save that space to find some other guys in the market. So I fully expect Deontay Brown to probably get cut, but they could keep him around. Going down the offense, Josh Babbitt, the tight end, the huge tight end out of North Dakota State. I like him. I want to see what he can do a little bit more. Maybe a practice squad year would be good for him to develop his body a little bit more. C.J. Saunders, obviously, he was a camp darling. He got hurt, played some special teams. He's been sticking around for a few years. He been on the practice squad on and off with us. He'll be around again. Him and Derek Wright. Derek Wright, the same, making some plays every so often. I got them being the two wide receivers that make it. I know I do like Rashawn Henry, but I just don't see the coaches pulling Saunders and Derek Wright over Henry or Rambo, even though I like those two guys. But I just feel like Saunders and Derek Wright have the inside track. Josh Lovett, we saw him have a good showing in the game, the final preseason game. He'll be pushing him and Spencer Brown. I think they both make practice squad because they like Spencer Brown. He has some experience. He was on the practice squad last year. But I think Lovett, he had some struggles early in camp where he could not catch the ball. But I think that this final game was enough to be able to keep him around, at least on the practice squad. Will he ever make it up to the active roster? I doubt it. But he needs to develop his hands. He had a lot of bad drops, just like Chuba earlier in camp when I was there attending. Like I said, Spencer Brown, Colin Thompson, I mentioned him. I think the team just likes him because of his background, so he'll stick around the practice squad as well if he chooses. Isaiah Graham Mobley and Brandon Zylstra. That is the tough one. So my surprise cuts are Brandon Zylstra, probably STO, and Colin Thompson. Everybody else seemed like pretty easy decisions. Like I said, 10 offensive linemen. I got them keeping only 6 wide receivers. You guys let me know how you feel about this list as well. Like I said, it's not that complicated, guys. Like, it's pretty clean-cut roster. Pay attention to some guys that get cut elsewhere that the Panthers might end up having to change this 53-man roster. This 53-man roster that I showed you is just based on the guys in-house. Scott Fitter is going to be in on every deal like he always says, so be paying attention to them playing the waiver wire for some late pickups, whether it's at the defensive end, the linebacker position. We know that these guys have been trying to find some guys ever since the Carlos Dunlap rumors came. So I expected to pick somebody up most definitely at the interior defensive line and the DN when it comes to these cuts. Because there's going to be some surprise veteran cuts around the league, I'm sure. Maybe the Panthers can scoop up somebody for the vet men who knows what's going to happen there. But you guys let me know down below in the comments, were you surprised by any of my picks? Do you disagree with any of them? Let me know how you feel down below. But without further ado, I'm Aaron Duckett signing off for the Necessary Blunt Sports Talk. See you next time. Peace.